What's going on, guys? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I have a very interesting video for you today. So, this is going to be partly Unearthed Arcana, partly Dungeon Masters Guild, partly D&D news. So, let's just dive into it, alright? So first of all, as we heard at the Fireside Chat earlier in the month, today, new campaign settings were announced. There were two, one definitely, one sort of. Sorry for my dogs running around the background. The first that is announced that is a true campaign setting is it Ravnica? I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Magic the Gathering, okay? So here there's going to be, you can see the art right here. You can see the full cover here. Being released later this year in November is a first ever campaign crossover guide. It's a new campaign setting. It's a crossover between Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering called the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is what I'm going to call it. So basically you can see here there's the D&D product page. There will be links in the description for this. Available November 20th for $50. Perpetual haze of dreary rain hangs over the spires of Ravnica. Bundled against the weather, the cosmopolitan citizens, in all their fantastic diversity, go through their daily business in bustling markets and shadowy back alleys. Through it all, 10 guilds, crime syndicates, scientific institutions, church hierarchies, military forces, judicial courts, buzzing swarms, and rampaging gangs vie for power, wealth, and influence. These guilds are the foundation of the power of Ravnica. They have existed for millennia, and each one has its own identity and civic function, its own diverse collection of races and creatures, and its own distinct subculture. This history is a web of wars, intrigue, and political machinations as they have vied for control of the plane. So, this is coming out, and we can see here, oh, this is new. Okay, so let's take a look. We're going to go through these real quick before we get into what I actually wanted to get into. So, premium dice for the world's greatest role-playing game. 1d20 to 1d12, only 1d20. Strangely, 2d10, 1d4, 4d6, 1d4, and 1 guild die. You think they would have learned the lessons that they specifically stated they learned in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist dice, but it's a cool looking tin. And then maps and miscellany does not have any information on it here, but here's this coming out the same day for $20. Again, it's a campaign setting, so that's that. Then we have, released today, was a new Unearthed Arcana, which is kind of bullshit, and I'm going to talk about why. So it's Races of Eberron. If you download this article here, you can get the Races of Eberron. However, in the second half of the New Worlds post is Eberron. The Wayfarer's Guide to Eberron. It exists right here on the Dungeon Masters Guild. You can go purchase this right now, folks. This is $20. It's from Wizards of the Coast. It's as official as a published thing you're going to get from Wizards of the Coast on Eberron at the moment. 175-page document introducing you to Eberron, its races, its world, and its sort of mythology for those of you who are unfamiliar. You can go purchase this right now. I already did. We're going to talk about that in a second for $20. Or, if you're only interested in the races of Eberron, you can download the Unearthed Arcana here, which is an exact copy-paste of what you're going to find in here, just without the pictures. So if you're only looking for new races, come here and download this Unearthed Arcana, and you'll get all of the races contained in this larger $20 document. Number 2, up front, Artificer, not in it. What? Artificer is the quintessential class that was made up in Eberron the first go-around in 3.5. The Eberron campaign setting, I'm looking at the book right here, you have the Artificer was a brand new class introduced in that book. That's where the Artificer came from. It was originally a wizard subclass that was in the Eberron Unearthed Arcana. Then they sort of revised it to the kind of crappy version that we have now that's out and then has not been touched in almost a year, maybe more than that. And then we don't get it in this. Now, I will say, that's not to state that it can't be revised. It's a DM's Guild document, so it's a living document. It can be updated and revised, so they could add it in. Also, I know nothing of this Ravnica setting, but if you look right at the front cover of this art right here, this chick has electromagnetical things and all sorts of steampunky style stuff. So Artificer is the perfect fit for that. So the fact that Artificer wasn't contained in this book is a shocker, so I'm wondering, no pun intended with all the lightning, but I'm wondering if that will be included in here. I'm also curious to see, because all of the plane shift documents that we've had over the years, all of the plane shift races are seemingly way stronger than the base races in Dungeons & Dragons, so I'm wondering if the races included in this book, as it's official, will potentially be slightly different or toned down. It also talked about new races and stuff, so we might see those, possibly new classes in this book. We really don't know enough at this point. So that's my little primer on that. Now, Wayfarer's Guide to Eberron. Here's the book. It is designed, or written, by Keith Baker, the creator of Eberron. And then you can see there's some other folks, Jeremy Crawford, Mike Morales, Kate Welch, people that matter, they're Dungeons & Dragons people. So this is real. So that's a thing to make sure you're aware of, is this is published by Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast. This is, again, the fact that they released it only digitally on the DM's Guild, it was a little weird and kind of upsetting that it's not in a print form, but it is what it is. So here we have the table of contents. The first chapter is all about what is Eberron. I may do a separate video on that for you guys if you're curious. And I'll just be pulling from this. I have the campaign setting, and there's a slew of books for 3.5, and I assume for 4th edition as well. But it has a whole bunch of cool stuff. It's got steampunk, it's got pulp, it's got all sorts of really cool stuff in it. That's why I'm a big fan, as well as a lot of other people. Now we have Welcome to Corvair. Again, more intro. So what is Eberron in general? The general area of Eberron. But then let's talk about the more crunchy stuff that I'm sure a lot of you guys are more interested in. Races of Eberron, most of which we see are reprints and updates of the original ones we saw way back in that very first 5th edition Unearthed Arcana. Dragon marks and what those are, again, a Ravenloft, wow, an Eberron-specific kind of function. We'll talk about that. Then we have the magic items. Some common magic items, and a couple of rare ones specifically tied to the world of Eberron. Then we have another city here, and then we have some future readings, source books, blah, blah, blah. So, we are going to skip. Little pet peeve. They're not very, they didn't, like, step the bookmarks, so you can see they're all kind of in line here. I feel like they could have stepped those out a little bit. So let's jump to the races. So, up front, some of these are very well balanced, and I like them a lot. Some have already garnered a little bit of intrigue as to why they're the way they are, but we'll get into it. So first up is a changeling. Changelings are basically what you assume them to be, like a lesser level doppelganger, a humanoid creature that has the ability to change form at will. So if you become a changeling, you get dexterity increased by, charisma increased by 2, dex by 1, or intelligence by 1. You get to pick. 30 feet walking speed. Basically, here's the crux of your class is change appearance. You can change into anything you've seen, and you revert from that form when you die. You decide what you look like. You cannot choose to be a member of a... you can be a member of a different race, but you still are the same height. It's very similar to the Disguise Self spell. You can't appear as a creature of a different size, and your basic shape stays the same. You're bipedal, blah, blah, blah. Your clothing and equipment don't change in appearance, so unlike Disguise Self. Requiring you to keep extra outfits around. Even the most astute observers, you're basically almost impenetrable in this disguise, as it is a true change of your body form. But if people try to figure out if they've got a key that something's wrong, you have advantage on deception checks to avoid that detection. You gain proficiency in 2 skills from your choice list of deception, intimidation, insight, and persuasion. But this was a little bit of a cool thing, and I really like this. Unsettling Visage. When a creature you can see makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the roll. You have to do this before you know if it's going to hit or miss. And using this trait reveals your shape-shifting nature to any creature within 30 feet that can see you, once per short or long rest. And I like that you're just kind of like, blah, look at me, I'm all weird, and then it makes them miss you. And then Divergent Persona, you gain proficiency with a tool of your choice. Define a unique identity associated with that proficiency. Establish the name, race, gender, age, and other details. While you are in the form of this persona, the related proficiency bonus is doubled for an ability check you make that uses this proficiency. The thought process being like, oh, now I'm Ted the Changeling. Now I'm gonna be Bob the Blacksmith, and that's your persona, and that gives you double proficiency with your smithing tools. And then you can speak, read, and write Common and 2 other languages of your choice. Alright, so Kalashtar was an interesting one. I didn't remember this from the original Unearthed Arcana, so to see them brought over here is pretty cool. So, a humanoid mixed with a spirit, basically, long story short. So, Wisdom and Charisma go up by 1, and then another ability score of your choice goes up by 1. When you make a Wisdom saving throw, you can use your reaction to gain advantage on the roll. You can use this trait immediately before or after you roll, but use this trait immediately before or after you roll, but before any of the roll's effects occur. So as long as you have a reaction, you can always have advantage on Wisdom saving throws, which is cool. Resistance to psychic damage. And then Mind Link, you have a 60-foot telepathy, as long as the creature understands a language. And as a bonus action, when you're speaking to that creature, you can give them the ability to communicate back. So a little bit better than a Warlock's Awakened Mind ability in that respect. You choose one of the following skills: Insight, Intimidation, Performance, or Persuasion. And you have advantage on all ability checks you make with that skill. And Severed from Dreams, basically you don't dream as part of the Kalashtar nature. You sleep, but you don't dream, so that makes you immune to magical spells that require you to dream, like the dream spell, but sleep would still work. Speak Common, I'm going to say it's Kiori, and another language of your choice. Shifter. This was also very exciting to see, because they were kind of weak in the original iteration. These are a humanoid creature that has, similar to like a Azamar has angelic, celestial nature, or a, a tiefling has demonic nature. This is someone that has lycanthropic history, ancestry, if you will. So, what do you get? Dexterity goes up by 1. Your speed is still 30 feet. You have dark vision and a proficiency with perception. And then you get the ability to shift. As a bonus action, you can transform into your more bestial appearance. This lasts for a minute until you die or until you revert to your normal appearance as a bonus action. When you do so, you gain temporary hit points equal to your level, which is awesome. Equal to your level plus your con mod. This could have a lot of fun ways if you do this and mix it with some other things. Your additional benefits as described by your type of shifter. Speak, read, and write Common. Subclasses. So if you're Beast Hide, you get a con increase by 2, proficiency in athletics, and whenever you shift, you gain an additional 1d6 temporary hit points, and your AC goes up by 1. Longtooth gets a +2 to strength, proficiency with intimidation, and while you're shifted, you grow fangs that allow you to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, which does a d6 plus your strength mod and piercing damage as opposed to bludgeoning. Swift Stride is increased to Dex by 1 and Charisma by 1, proficiency with acrobatics. Walking speed increases by 5 feet. When you're shifted, you also get another additional 5 feet, so that's 40 feet base right there. Additionally, you can move up to 10 feet as a reaction when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you. This does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And lastly, Wild Hunt, your wisdom goes up by 2, proficiency in survival, and as a bonus action you can mark a creature you can see within 10 feet. Until the end of your next long rest, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check to find the marked creature, and you always know its location if it's within 60 feet of you. You can't use this feature to finish a short or long rest. And while shifted, you have advantage on wisdom checks. Then we have the Warforged. This one is going to be the one that drives a little bit of a schism in the community because of the way things are designed. So one, leaps and bounds over the original Warforged, which was just awful. Why would you ever play one as the ones written in the original Unearthed Arcana? This is so much better. So base Warforged, con goes up by 1. Then you have Warforged Resilience, which is vastly improved. Advantage on saving throws against being poisoned and resistance to poison damage, which they did not have before. Immunity to disease. You do not need to eat, drink, or breathe, and you don't sleep and don't suffer the effects of exhaustion due to the lack of sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. Nice little benefit there. And then you have Sentry's Rest. When you take a long rest, you must spend at least 6 hours in an inactive, motionless state rather than sleeping. It's only 6 hours, by the way. In this state, you appear inert, but it doesn't render you unconscious. You can still see and hear as normal. And then you have Integrative Protection. I thought this was strange that this was selectable, but alright. And this is the one that really people are going to have an issue with because it can be pretty crazy depending on how things go. So let's read through it. So you cannot benefit from any armor at all. You can use shields though, if you're proficient, obviously. You can alter your body to enter different defensive modes each time you finish a long rest. Choose one mode to adopt from the integrated protection table below, provided that you meet the mode's prerequisite. So, if you have a dark wood core, this is generally unarmored. So there's no prerequisite, and it's 11 plus your dexterity modifier. You add your proficiency bonus if you are proficient with light armor. So right there, you are at a base 13 AC if you don't have a negative dex mod at level 1. Part of the reason people are not going to like this whole section, and we'll go through it the rest of the way, is if you have a 20 dexterity and you're at a high enough level, that's 5 from your dexterity modifier, 6 from your proficiency bonus, plus 11 is your AC. So you're, what is that, 5 and 6 is 11, 22 AC right there with no armor. And you could technically use a shield if that's an option to you and have a 24 AC. Composite plating requires medium armor proficiency. Your AC is 13 plus your dex to a maximum of 2 plus your proficiency bonus. So dex mod there, that puts you at 15 if you have a 2 dex mod. Plus your proficiency bonus could put you again at 21. And then heavy plating, 16 plus your proficiency bonus, disadvantage on stealth checks. Again, that could become a 22 plus a shield. If you have heavy armor, you have proficiency with shields. So a 24 just with disadvantage on stealth checks. And then there are subclasses of Warforged. So we have the Envoy, 2 different ability scores go up by 1. Proficiency in a skill of your choice and a tool of your choice, and fluency in 1 language. Choose one tool you're proficient with. This tool is integrated into your body, and you double your proficiency bonus for any ability checks you make with it. You must have your hands free to use this integrated tool. And then there's a sidebar here, like talking about a loot integrated into the body, or a compass, or a mask, different things like that. Pretty cool flavor for how you integrate your tool into your body. The Juggernaut gets a +2 strength, and then when they make an unarmed strike, they deal a d4 plus strength modifier in damage. And they have the powerful build ability, so they can carry more. And then the Skirmisher gets a +2 dex, walking speed increases by 5, and when traveling alone for an extended period of time, 1 hour or more, they can move stealthily at a normal pace. Then we kind of have some of the other races here. Nothing too crazy, I don't think, that jumps out. Oh, I missed this. Elves of Arenal, I guess is how you pronounce it. Elf variants. And I don't know, sorry. Elf. You can choose 1 skill or tool proficiency. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make with those chosen proficiency. And a Valinor elf gains proficiency with Scimitar, Double Scimitar, Longbow, and Shortbow. The Valinor Double Scimitar is listed here and shown here. This is a double-bladed scimitar wielding 2 hands, does 2d4 slashing damage. So, if you work with your DM to create the story with your double scimitar, you can start with the weapon at first level in place of a martial weapon. When you take the attack action, make a 2-handed attack with a double-bladed scimitar. You can use a bonus action to make a melee attack with the blade at the opposite end. This attack uses the same ability modifier as the primary attack. The weapon's damage die for this attack is a d4 and it deals slashing damage. It doesn't say, but it's assumed that adds the ability modifier to the damage. And then if you are a Revenant Blade, Elf is the prerequisite. It increases strength or dex by 1. While wielding a double-bladed weapon with 2 hands, the weapon has the finesse trait for attacks with it, and you gain a +1 AC. And on your turn, when you use a bonus action to make a melee attack with the opposite end of the blade, it does full damage of 2d4 as opposed to 1d4. Gnomes, I don't think there's anything new here as we scroll through. There's stuff on Talenta halflings. There's no real difference here. They just are dinosaur riding halflings, which I always thought was really cool. They do add a Clawfoot Raptor, which is just a slightly weaker, like Velociraptor, I believe, or like right on par with them. Humans, Azamar, Goblinoids, Kobolds, Minotaurs, Tieflings, so on. Then we're gonna get into Dragon Marks, and Dragon Marks are an interesting feature. I actually might just give you, you know what? I think I'm gonna do Dragon Marks as a separate video. I'm gonna do backgrounds here, because there's a couple new backgrounds and some more information on the dragon marks, and there's magic items. I'm going to do a couple separate videos on those. We'll just treat this one as sort of an Unearthed Arcana / news video, and then I will come back and I will do videos on the other chapters. And if you're interested in any of the lore of Eberron chapters, I will do those as well. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.